Hi everyone, this is Mrs. GA, and today we are going to talk about the angles formed by intersecting lines. So today we're going to talk about three different ways to classify angles. The first one is vertical angles. So vertical angles are angles that are opposite each other when two lines intersect. And opposite means across from, and we'll look down at a picture in just a moment. Supplementary angles are two angles whose measures have a sum of 180 degrees. We've talked about a term before that would be supplementary. So linear pairs are supplementary angles. They add up to 180 degrees. However, supplementary angles, you can have more than two, so it goes beyond just linear pairs. And complementary angles are angles whose measures have a sum of 90 degrees. So they form a right angle. And remember, we can tell it's a right angle when you see that little box. It looks like this. So when you see this little box in an angle, that tells you that it's a right angle. Okay, so if you look down at this picture, here we have what's called the vertical angle theorem. So it states if two angles are vertical angles, so if you know they're vertical, then the angles are congruent. So it's really important to be able to notice vertical angles because then we know a really important fact about them. And remember, the symbol for congruent is like a wavy over the equal sign. So if you look at this picture, you can see that we have two intersecting lines. So the ones that are opposite in this case would be angle 1 and angle 3. They are across from each other. So we could make the statement that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Now we also know that angle 2 and this angle right here, these are vertical angles because they're opposite each other, and so that means that they would also be congruent. I can show that with double arcs. So we could make the statement that the measure of angle 2 is 134 degrees because vertical angles are congruent. Okay, so let's look down at example 1. This says the measure of two vertical angles is 42 degrees and 2x plus 4 degrees. Find a value of x. So again, we know that vertical angles are congruent, which means that these two measurements should be equal. So all we have to do is set up the equation 42 equals 2x plus 4 and solve. So I'll subtract 4 from each side and then divide by 2 and we get x equals 19. Easy as that. However, again, you need to know that vertical angles are congruent. Okay, so here we're asked to find all of the missing measures of the angles. So first one is kind of given. It's not written into the picture what the measurement is, but we are told, we see this little box, so we know that angle CFD equals 90 degrees. The measure of angle CFD equals 90, and this box is what tells us that. Now you can see that the other measure that we are missing is right here. So this we need to find the measure of angle AFB, or you could name that angle BFA. So there's a few different ways we can find it. So first, let's see if we can use vertical angles to find that measure. So if I draw a line like this, and I draw a line like this, I see that I have two intersecting lines, and so I can see that this angle, angle AFB, will be congruent to angle DFE because they are congruent angles. So first I'm going to make this statement. I'm going to say angle AFB is congruent to angle DFE, and it's because they are vertical angles. So now I can substitute what we know. We know that angle DFE is 35 degrees. So that means the measure of angle AFB is also 35 degrees. So now let's see if we can find the same answer in a different way. Let's see if we can use supplementary angles to make an equation and solve for that same angle. So again, supplementary angles are angles that add up to 180 degrees. So if you ever want to look for supplementary angles, all you have to do is find a straight line. So I know I can make this statement that angle AFB plus angle BFC plus angle CFD equals 180 degrees. They are supplementary. I did this angle plus this angle plus this angle. So anytime you see a straight line, you can use supplementary angles to help you find missing parts. So we don't know angle AFB, but we know that angle BFC is 55 degrees, so I can substitute that. And we know that CFD is 90 degrees. So if you combine like terms and solve for angle AFB, you get the same answer. You get 35 degrees. All right, and we could also do the same using complementary angles. If we know that this is a straight line, which we can see, and we know that this is 90, we know that this other side must also be 90. So you could also use this pair of complementary angles to solve as well. So there's actually 3 different ways you can do this, but one is more than enough. I just wanted to show you there are different ways to reach the same conclusion. All right, so now let's see if we can look at different pairs of angles and determine whether we can classify them as vertical angles, linear pairs, or neither. So for the vertical angles, I'll substitute that with VA. For linear pairs, I'll say LP, and then for neither, I'll say N. So this, it can be a little bit tricky sometimes when there's lots of line segments going on and lots of rays to tell. So it might be helpful to use colors to help you find these angles. So first one is angle BFE, which is right here, BFE, and angle CFD, which is right here. So you can see that when I trace over these angles, I have 2 straight lines that are intersecting. And I see that BFE is here and CFD is here. They are opposite angles, so we would call these vertical angles. Let's look at the next one. CFD is right here, and EFD is right here. So you can see that when you put those together, they make a straight line. So we would call that a linear pair. Let's look at the next one, AFD and BFC. So if you look at those 2, I'll highlight that in green. AFD is like this, BFC is like this. So here I don't have 2 straight lines intersecting. This line kind of takes a turn, so that means that they are neither. So it's only when 2 straight lines are intersecting. Here they would not be vertical angles. Let's look at the next one, AFB and EFD. So AFB is here and EFD is here. So same thing here. Now we have 2 angles that are, or 2 lines that are kind of going like this. This is a straight line, this one is not, so this would qualify as neither as well. Okay, and then here angle BFE and angle BFC. So same idea here. I see that I have a straight line. Again, BFE and BFC. So that would give us a linear pair. And for the last one, we have BFC and EFD. So that would be this angle right here and this angle right here. We can see that it's formed from 2 intersecting lines and they are opposite, so we call those vertical angles. Okay, let's move down to this last example. So here we're told that a sprinkler swings back and forth between A and B in such a way that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. So I'm going to show that with little arcs. And angle 1 and 3 are complementary, which means that they make a right angle. So I can show that with a little box. And I know that angle 2 and 4 are also complementary. So here, just from the given information, I can set up 3 equations. Well, I can state the given that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. When they tell us that angle 1 and 3 are complementary, I can say angle 1 plus angle 3 equals 90 degrees. And when they say that angle 2 and 4 are complementary, we can say angle 2 plus angle 4 equals 90 degrees. So just from the given information, we can make these three statements. Now let's look at what the rest of the given information is. So they say the measure of angle 1 is 44.5. So they'd like us to find angle 2, 3, and 4. So here, let's start with this first given statement. I'm going to substitute what we know. We know that angle 1 is 44.5 degrees. That was given. So that means that the measure of angle 2 is also 44.5 because they are congruent. Now here, if I know that angle 1 is 44.5, I can substitute it. So plus angle 3 equals 90. So if I solve for angle 3, I get the measure of angle 3 is 45.5 degrees. And then here, we've previously shown that the measure of angle 2 is 44.5, so I can substitute that into this equation. So I can say 44.5 plus angle 4 equals 90, and I get the measure of angle 4 will also be 45.5 degrees. And there you have it. So it's really important that you're able to start with these statements. Even if it seems obvious to you, you have to make sure that all of your work is clearly shown and that it's justified with mathematical statements. All right, that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching.